Hey there, and welcome back into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Mark Minner, joined now by our panel. We have Eric Brown, writer for the Dognet, and Matt Vacklin, sports editor for the Butler Collegian. Guys, it's a depressing week to say the least. Both men's and women's teams are now out of play. The men's team, we were all down in Greensboro, North Carolina, hoping for a second-round game, but unfortunately fell to LSU 75-71. Initial reaction to the game?
Obviously, it's really tough when the season's coming to an end. I thought we played tough, but down near the end, Marcus Thornton was just too good. We didn't have anybody who could stop him. The good thing is we have everybody coming back next year, so hopefully we have another good season next year to look forward to.
Yeah, I think overall the season really, the game's not as surprising as it seemed. I mean, I was hoping for something better, but after the 19-1 start, they were only about 7-5 down the stretch, and yeah, I mean there was no answer for Marcus Thornton. That's the best player Butler's seen all year. And just when you have that, I do think in that game the better team won, unfortunately.
Well, was Marcus Thornton the only reason they won? Because guys stepped up. Tasman Mitchell had a great game. What was the reason, if you can pinpoint a reason, for the loss?
Marcus Thornton was a huge part of it. It was his 7th 30-point game of the season, but yeah. Tasman Mitchell, like you mentioned, he's known for his defense. He was the guy who shut down J.J. Redick in their run to the Final Four in 2006. He had 14 points, and down near the end, they got a couple offensive rebound putbacks, and we just couldn't get any stops.
I really thought LSU showed their experience too. Their seniors had been to the Final Four before, and you really saw that just in the beginning of the game. LSU came out, took a 9-0 lead, and I mean Butler has been in situations like that before, but in the NCAA tournament that's tough to come back from. And then you factor in a player like Thornton. So I really think just the inexperience played a big role in it.
Last year, Matt Howard was a freshman. He got shut down in the NCAA tournament. Didn't have a great game. This year he rebounded well. Really led the Bulldogs and had foul trouble. We knew it was going to happen, but picked up 2 early fouls, had to sit a lot, only played 25 minutes in the game. But he was a real leader for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, he was an absolute monster out there, scoring 22 points, and it was just a completely different game when he's in the game. He was just taking it right at Johnson, and even though he was 6'11", LSU just didn't have a stop for him, but he did get in some foul trouble playing against some stronger guys in Tasman Mitchell. But you just got to give him a ton of credit for playing such a great game on a national stage like that.
He really is the X factor, I think, for a team like Butler that separates themselves from the mid-majors. Is not many mid-majors have a post presence like that can take it inside. I mean, Matt Howard had his way with the best team in the SEC this year. Other mid-major teams can shoot threes, they can defend. Matt Howard is the X factor and why there's a lot of reasons to be excited about the next 2 years.
Matt, you and I were in the locker room after the game. It was a weird feeling, too, because after a loss like that, you would think everybody, the seniors, would be real upset because they don't have another shot. But everybody has another shot next year. They're all coming back. Future's bright for these kids, right, man?
Future's really bright. I mean, I think it was Gordon Hayward said, not every team goes through that where you get to have everybody back. And it really is. I mean, they're going to be one more year mature. They got the experience of the tournament. And then on top of that, they bring in a recruit, Andrew Smith, who's going to fit in really nicely to add some size. Again, another thing that a team like Butler now is going to have that other mid-major teams don't. There's a lot of reason to believe, and a tougher schedule next year, by the way, too. They're positioned really well for a good run next year, and that's why, yeah, there was a surprising amount of optimism in the locker room still.
Yeah, you rarely see a team bring back 5 starters, let alone the entire roster. So obviously there's a lot to be excited about the Butler team next year. And as you mentioned, a great recruit coming in. He'll provide Matt Howard with a little bit of a backup if he happens to get in foul trouble. Him and Jukes will be a good addition in the post. And I think if the guys work real hard in the offseason, there's no reason to believe we can't win another regular season Horizon League championship.
Now, Beth Kuchar has done a great job in her tenure as head coach of the Butler Bulldogs. Now back-to-back 20-win seasons. A great game against Duquesne after the men had lost. They won on a last-second shot by Candace Jones. Then they go to Marquette, and they fall short, and the season's done. Talk about that Marquette game. They were in it for a while. They had to battle back.
Well, the thing for both games was they built a big hole, and they were able to rally against Duquesne, which is awesome to see. And against Marquette, they just weren't able to overcome. They shot 52% from the line, 11% from 3, and just 33% from the field overall. So it's really tough to overcome a poor shooting performance like that on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the big key for them all year is how they shoot, but they defended better, a lot more consistently this year. And that was the big thing that led to comebacks. I mean, they were down by 16 in the second half against Marquette and got within a point. Beth Kuchar's really instilled a mindset that I think is going to keep carrying over as you've seen them get progressively better in her tenure here.
Well, let's talk about the season, too, because players have stepped up, and it was a weird year for Susan Lester. She was up and down, and Lede seemed like she held strong the whole year. But as you look back on the season, you have to be real happy with the way it went.
Yeah, definitely. Their second straight 20-win season. I believe it's their first postseason appearance in a while, first postseason win in a long time.
97, 98,
97, yeah. So it's just really exciting to see it, and they're going to have a couple good players coming back next year too. So just a great way to represent the school.
Yeah, there were some players that stepped up that weren't seniors too. I mean, Lester's going to be back, Bowen's going to be back, Tara Burns is going to be back, Melanie Thornton's going to be back. And you look at a team that, I mean, they made the postseason like you said. They won on the road, which is really impressive. And in a league this year where, I mean, Green Bay was pretty much unstoppable, I think you have to be very happy with a second straight 20-win season. And, yeah, the future is really bright for that program. Well,
this show goes from depressing to even worse because, unfortunately, the baseball team is struggling this year pretty bad. 2-16 on the season. The bright spot is they just got their last win in the back end of a doubleheader against Valpo. They'll play at Wright State this weekend, the second team in Horizon League play. But what does this team have to do to turn it around?
You know, hopefully that win will instill that little bit of fire into them to get them play a little bit better. They've had a tough schedule. They played Kansas State, UNLV, Purdue. So they played some big schools, but they've really struggled hitting and pitching as well. So hopefully this win will get a start, and they'll be able to keep things rolling in conference play.
Yeah, I know from talking to Coach Farley, their schedule was a little tougher this year than expected. They're having to pay for the hitting facility, so they're playing more paid games. And the schedule lightens up now. The familiarity of conference opponents should help. But really just, I mean, they're hitting .236 as a team right now. Their team ERA is over 10, and they've committed 41 errors in 18 games. Just if they can start improving on those areas, they'll have a better run coming up here.
Well, let's try and finish positive here. The men's basketball team next year, Horizon League, they were picked to finish 5th this year. Are they a clear lock for #1, or does Gary Waters' Cleveland State team take that top spot?
I think you have to give the lock to Butler. They won the regular season and bringing everybody back. Cleveland State's going to lose Bullock and Cedric Jackson and Tandy, and Green Bay is going to lose Shatner and Tillema and a few other guys as well. So Butler should be a lock to be preseason, but you never know. Teams can definitely step up. Wright State's got Vaughn Duggins coming back, and they're going to be looking to make another run.
Yeah, I mean, what Cleveland State has done this year is commendable. They had an outstanding season, but, yeah, I think they lose too much. Butler should be the lock for #1, but as we saw, 5th place prediction this year. You don't know if someone from the middle of the pack is going to make a run, but Butler definitely has to be the preseason favorite.
All right, well, we have something to hang our hat on. Thanks, guys, as always.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz right after the break. Coming off their best season in over 10 years, the Butler football team has officially kicked off their spring season. The team will practice 3 to 4 times a week for the next 4 weeks in preparation for the annual Blue-White game on Saturday, April 11th. The game is a scrimmage that will take place in the Butler Bowl and is the highlight of the spring football season. The baseball team will travel to Dayton this weekend for a 3-game series against Wright State. The Bulldogs picked up their first Horizon League win on Sunday on the back end of a doubleheader against Valparaiso. Junior Jamie Fieldheiser threw 6 shutout innings, and shortstop Grant Filipich smashed a solo home run in the 6th as the Bulldogs cruised to the 5-1 victory. Even though basketball has ended this weekend on campus, you can get a taste of what this year's fall sports will look like. On Saturday, the women's volleyball team will take on IUPUI at noon, while the women's soccer team will play Iowa State at 1 p.m. in the Butler Bowl. On Sunday, the women's tennis team gets things started at 10 a.m. with a home match against league rival Green Bay. Then the men's soccer team kicks off a doubleheader in the Butler Bowl with a 2 o'clock game when they take on Michigan State, followed by a 4:30 start against FC Indiana. That will just about do it for this week's episode of The Blitz. Check us out online at youtube.com/Bulldog Blitz Sports. Or if you're in central Indiana, as always, you can find The Blitz through Comcast On Demand. And make sure you tune in next week for our season finale. Until then, I'm Mark Minner. We'll see you right back here on the Bulldog Blitz.